The Rough Drafts podcast is sponsored by Unicorn.com, the world's premier esports betting site. Bet on your favorite games like CSGO, Dota 2, and League of Legends, and earn Unicoins through successful bets, or use Unicorn's exclusive Connect program, where you can earn Unicoins just by playing some of your favorite games. Use your earnings to enter Unicorn's raffles for exciting prizes like Logitech peripherals or CSGO skins. So join Chase and Walter and prove who really is the esports gambling expert. Unicorn.com. Log on today.
Hello, Internet! This is Chase RedShirtKing Wassenar, and welcome to Week 3 of the North American LCS Guess the Lines podcast. We had now wrapped up 2 weeks of North American action. We're starting to get a much better idea of where these teams stand in relation to each other now that everyone's played a full 4 series, which, as we know, is not the case over in Europe. But now we have this right here. We can sort it all out, and I know someone that would just love to put together all of these crazy lessons we learned from last week, and that would be my good friend and co-host, Walter Ceades Fedczuk. Walter, how you doing, man?
We've learned I hate European schedules. I just hate the European scheduling system, and you have to keep rubbing that in my face. But here we've seen 4 best-of-3 series from every single team, a little bit more definitive than I think over in Europe. And I think North America is closer top to bottom than Europe is.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. In North America, there is not a single team that has won every map. There's not a single team that has lost every map. And I guess the former is true in Europe, but not true. The latter is not. So, you got to hope that at the very least the game scores that we're seeing and how tight. I mean, you look at third place is 7-3. 8th place is still only, 4-6. It's only a 30% difference. That's not a lot as far as making up gaps go. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see who does separate themselves from the pack. I got to ask you, Walter, which team do you feel like did the most last week to move themselves away from the rest of the pack? Which team impressed you?
Oh, man, my early season dark horse was Phoenix 1. If we remember from the prediction episodes, they look really, really good. Zig showed up this week. He had an absolutely fantastic second series against Liquid. He really took Lorlo to town. They used to be former stablemates. They both used to be on Team Liquid. Zig was on Team Liquid Academy as a top laner, and Lorlo was a top laner for Team Liquid. So there must have been some sort of in-scrim rivalry or something like that. He definitely took it out on Lorlo on the field. And Nori looked like a god. Don't give him Rengar. If you're red side, ban Rengar against them. I don't know what else to tell you. They looked amazing. Ryu's got everything flowing through the mid lane. And I brought this up to you on the pre-call, but I got to bring this up for the fans at home. Arrow might be the most unheralded, quietest, not talked about Korean import in the history of Korean imports, at least in North America, because the dude is just consistent. He's solid, and you never hear his name get called. It is always overshadowed by Ryu, it's overshadowed by Nori, and it was even overshadowed by Zig, especially against Team Liquid. So that bottom lane of Adrian and Arrow is running on all cylinders, is probably the best bottom lane in North America.
Yeah, right now I'm inclined to agree with you. Maybe Snaky or Smoothie could argue that point, and I look forward to seeing these two teams face off later on this year. But I really love what Phoenix 1 is doing as well. I think that if Arrow is the quietest import, it's because he's not doing anything to draw attention away from the team. And that's all you could really want as a coach. I'm sure that the guys running Phoenix 1 are pretty happy with how that's all worked out. I think Echo Fox has got to be pretty happy with how things worked out this week. They were a team that looked really rough last week, but we liked what Acadian did. They needed a second guy to get going, and man, Froggen got going. The clip of the home-guarded Anivia coming through the caca was just wonderful. I don't know why anyone is, allowing such an easy Anivia comp for Froggen anymore, but whatever, as they're going to take that. And it does feel like the odd year Froggen is still is in play. We might be there, Walter. That might still be a thing.
Honestly, I think we are. Echo Fox has an 82% first blood rate. Their gold difference at 15 minutes is 1,400, almost 1,500 gold. That's actually over double what second place is. So I don't know. I had a tweet during the weekend that I'm gonna quote directly, and I said, this was 2 days ago, so this was on Sunday. I said, it's a shame Acadian isn't going to win Rookie of the Split because Echo Fox won't win a lot of series. That's disappointing. Foot and mouth. I also didn't think about the fact that there's only like 3 rookies in North America. So Acadian's been really, really, really impressive and has been sort of the jolt that Echo Fox has needed. Loopers performed fantastically as well. We'll talk more about them in a little bit, some of my other thoughts on them. But yeah, I've been really impressed by them.
Yeah, totally fair. And now we got to talk about the teams that totally didn't impress us at all. I have a team that comes to mind that I think you have some interesting feelings about later. But first, what most worried you about this week? What was the most disappointing thing?
I'd hate to beat a dead horse, Team Liquid, but Team Liquid's really bad. Yeah. Ever since their sweep of CLG, it's been downhill from there, and I take no pride, I take no pleasure in doing this. Like, it does not, and I have the biggest grin on my face right now, but it doesn't pride me to, like, keep going after this guy, but Piglet's just downright awful. He's just horrendous. I'm just not seeing it, guys. I'm not seeing what he's supposed to do to save you. Rainovers looked okay. Golden Glue has not looked particularly promising. Maybe we'll see Link this week. Who knows? Lorlo's had a few, bright spots. But, like, man, Piglet and Matt have been okay in laning phase. They either get dumpstered or they're, like, mediocre and they kind of hang in there, but then you get to team fights and they just can't do anything. And some of it may be the meta. It just might not be Piglet's meta, Ash and Varus and Jin. But he did play Vayne at I Am Young Yi. Had the one pretty good Twitch game. I'm just not seeing it anymore, guys. It's getting kind of pathetic to watch at this point. And I know Liquid fans are going to come after me, but how do you defend him? What do you say to defend Piglet at this point? I just don't see it.
Anyone who wants to rush to Piglet's defense is a Team Liquid fan. I would like to point you to a
Ceades _LOL.
Yeah, well, I was going to point to a 2.4 KDA, which puts him at the lowest in the league. And he is by far the lowest in kills. Across 10 games, he only has 16 kills. I want to repeat that. 16 kills over 10 games as an 80 carry in a professional league. That is not what we're used to from Piglet. And it is the lowest in the league by over 10 kills. The second lowest is Arrow at 26. And oh, by the way, if all of you are saying, well, his assists, though, are pretty nice. Well, his damage permitted is only 445, which puts him at second lowest. And it's not like, with Sneaky where you can kind of understand, well, it's lower because they're winning games faster and also there are other threats. I don't know who the other threat is supposed to be. It was going to be the year of Lorlo, according to Twitter, but then Kelsey Moser brought out her version of the Death Note. I guess she must have borrowed it from Caps or something and published that article about Lorlo, and then suddenly just everything went to hell, which was just kind of incredible to watch. Real quick, I'm going to just throw out the Dignitas looked bad this week. I pointed out before the season that I thought that it was Someday trying to carry 4 guys, and if ever you were going to make a case that this team looked like Someday carrying 4 guys, that was this week. Because when Someday was kept down, the rest of this team did not look good. And I think Xpecial is genuinely not good at League of Legends.
The TSM loss isn't that bad. Echo Fox loss is a little worrying.
Yeah, that one was bad. And I didn't like the way they lost at TSM either. It's not like these were necessarily, huge back and forth kind of scale games. It's a quality loss, but
fair enough.
It's tough because that also comes into how good you feel about TSM, which we'll get to later on. But before we get into all of that, we have to talk about something that is a wholly positive thing are smart money bets. They're starting to come through in North America. Yay! It's about time.
I'm the man. I'm the man.
We had FlyQuest plus 125 over CLG. That was absurd amounts of value. We had Phoenix 1 plus 150 over Team Liquid. That was also absurd amounts of value. FlyQuest plus 135 to 2-0 Echo Fox.
Egg on our face. Egg on our face.
Couldn't be happier. Look, first of all, I did not predict Camille support. You're gonna have to call me on that one. My bad. But outside of that, like, I mean, I'm glad that Echo Fox rose to the occasion. It means we're 2-1 from this week. We're 3-3 overall on the year, but we've made you guys $150 extra if you bet on everything we've recommended on the NA side of things. And don't worry, if you're looking at the European ones and saying, oh, but you guys lost me there, well, then just keep betting on NA too. Overall, we've made a profit, even with the terrible scheduling in Europe. So I think that there's plenty of value to be had, and I think we're going to see if we can find some more this week. Walter, are you ready?
Yeah.
To dive on in.
I think...
Because we start with Immortals versus Phoenix 1. Which is not... It's a series. It is a series of two teams, and you've already talked about one of them, and the other one is my favorite team, which, if ever there was a case that the Chase Wassenar curse existed... I
want to flip you off right now, you jerk.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Dardoch didn't deserve this.
I didn't mean to, because I did actively say I know that there's concerns here because every time I'm a fan of a team, but I did it anyway. So I guess I'm not really sorry.
I just don't know what Dardoch did to deserve your hatred.
Well, look, let's assume for the moment an outlandish theory that I am not actually in control of whether or not
You're not the Steve Bartman of League of Legends. I got it.
Just it's a shot in the dark, but I'm going to assume that my fandom doesn't actually impact their games all that much.
I think it does. I think you're wrong, but
if
whatever
you
helps
could
you
offer
sleep
an
at night.
alternate theory, Walter, what else are you seeing from this team that has you concerned, other than my fandom?
It feels like Dardoch is trying too hard. It feels like he's really trying to force things, that he understands his bot lane is worse than what his bot lane was at last year. Especially, towards the end of the summer split. Wild Turtle and Adrian were not a very good cohesive unit. And somehow Immortals is downgraded even farther. And Cody Sung looks out of place. He looks like okay in laning phase, but once it gets to team fights, he just looks lost. His positioning is really poor. He doesn't output a ton of damage in team fights. Ale looks like all he can do is play Morgana, which I guess that sort of works in the current meta, but it just seems like Pobelter isn't trying to make plays, and it seems like Flame and Dardoch are just trying to overcompensate too much. They're really forcing things. And look, the Echo Fox game, Flame, dude, you died once. You knew they're at your red. Why the hell are you teleporting back to top lane without flash? Why? It's a Nautilus Kha'Zix. Come on, dude. Like, they're trying so hard. He realizes that he's playing Gangplank, and he can't concede that farm. So he's got to teleport up to lane to make sure he gets there. But he teleports to a minion. Teleport to your tower at least, so if they try to dive you, you're a little bit closer. Like, you have no escape path if you teleport into the middle of the lane. And that just tells me that they're forcing it. They're trying too hard. They're not letting it come to them naturally. And that was what made Dardoch so good, and I think that's what's making all these other young North American junglers good, is they're letting the game come to them. Acadian goes top because he sees the Flame is teleporting in with no flash, and he's playing Gangplank, and there's nothing he can do. Like, that play appeared for him. He didn't have to force it. And Dardoch needs to get back to that. He needs to let the game dictate what he's doing, and he's just not. He's trying to take the game and make it what he wants it to be, and that's just not how you play successful League of Legends. It's how you die stupidly a lot of times. It's how you get caught out. It's just been very underimpressive, and I totally subscribe to the theory that Chase Wassenar has a stink on him, and every team he touches disintegrates.
Look, I don't have a counter to that argument, because the only team I could really point to that I've been a fan of for a long period of time now is Roccat. So I'm not going to counter that. I will say, Ollie, I just ran the numbers, and unless I'm doing my maths wrong, if you take out all of his Morgana games, his KDA is 1.
Sounds about right.
It's not. It's a little over 1, I think. It's like 219 and 19 is where he stands right now on anything other than Morgana. That's atrocious. Flame's kill participation percentage right now is 54.9%. That is atrocious, especially because he has teleport, and he's in this meta. That's usually where your tank comes from, so he kind of needs to be there.
Second lowest behind balls.
Yeah, and
and Paul Melter's third.
Yeah, and Paul Melter, you didn't even mention him very much. I'm under the impression that he might not be that great either. Like, Flame I could explain away. Flame I can say, he's still learning English. He's devoted to learning it, and he'll figure it out, and the communication will be better. Maybe that will improve. We can point to that and say there are signs that Flame could get better, and the way they use him will get better. There are signs that, Dardoch will get used to, working with these kinds of dynamics. There are signs that, Cody-san and Ale, at least they're a young bot lane. At least, Cody-san, you can make an argument like he's a rookie. It takes time. We've talked to owners and coaches before who, instill patience as a virtue, and maybe that's fair. Maybe we should be more patient.
Chase, who are you trying to sell here, man?
Me.
Who are you?
I'm trying to sell me on this idea because I need something to hold on to, and I think Immortals fans do too. But they're going up against Phoenix One, who, as you pointed out earlier, so many things have gone right for them. Is there any situation in which Immortals pulls off the upset, or are Phoenix One just too good for this?
I think Phoenix One are just too good, but I think if it's going to happen, it's that you put Flame on a carry, you put him on Rumble, you put him on Kennen, you put him on Fiora. I think Fiora or Trundle are actually probably better options because you can just be like, all right, Flame, kill, split push, end the game, make it 4v1, like 4v5 them so we can 4-man Baron. Like, I think that just needs to be it. It just needs to be command, go kill. Take base, kill Nexus, Trundle, Fiora. That's the only way I think Immortal wins this series, and I think it's incredibly difficult to do it 2 games in a row because Ryu will lose 1 game to that and go, you get pick Trundle again? You get pick, I'm camping you, buddy. And him and Honori are just going to camp the hell out of him. And sure, then you go, then it's a 4v2 across the rest of the map, but 3 of those players have proven they don't want to make plays. So
it's not great.
I don't see them winning 2 out of 3 games against Immortals. I think that they're an extremely intelligent squad, and they'll find the pressure point, and they'll just keep exploiting it like they've been doing it the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think that is very fair. But you know what, Walter? It doesn't matter what I think is fair. It matters what the casinos think is fair. So where does Unicorn put the line?
I think they're still undervaluing Phoenix One. Just like later on, I think they're going to keep undervaluing FlyQuest. I have Phoenix One at -125.
Okay, you get this one. You are correct. They are still undervaluing Phoenix One. I said Phoenix One -170. It's Phoenix One -143, which puts Immortals at +110. And that's some pretty decent value there. If you like Phoenix One in this matchup, and I think it's safe to say that we both do, this is some significant value. Because Phoenix One should be favored in this series by way more than they are. And, I'm just throwing this out there. If you are a really degenerate gambler type, what do you think the odds for a 2-0 here are, Walter?
I'm going to say +220.
It is +200. So you're about right. That seems like a very decent bet as well, especially if you're like us and not really convinced by anything you've seen.
I'm not trusted 2-0s. We haven't hit a single 2-0. As a gambler, I just at some point have to be like, all right, that's not where I am this year.
You know what? That's fair. Let's keep going then, because maybe this one will change your mind. Envious versus Team Liquid. So you were down on Liquid, and I think it's understandable why. We went into why Piglet has been really struggling and what that means for the rest of this team.
Yeah.
Envious has tried to redeem themselves this week. They have Lyra now. They're going to have him for more than a whole day this time around. Do we start seeing a rise in Envious right now? Is that in play?
It's in play, but I guess what do you mean by a rise? Like, is it that we're seeing that they're going to win their first series against Liquid? I'm not sold on that. Ninja still hasn't done anything to really make me believe that he's anything better than the 10th best mid laner in North America, and that even if he deserves that spot. Apollo's been pretty good. He keeps impressing me in his play style, and I think it's just mainly because it's utility AD carries. He doesn't have to make big plays. All he has to do is consistently hit Ashe and Varus arrows and hit Jhin ults. He's not a position where he has to be a playmaker. And I think for Envious, getting the counter pick for Seraph is extremely important because it sets him up for winning lanes. But at the same time, Team Liquid is putting a lot of faith and a lot of attention into Lorlo as well, and I think both teams are really trying to play through their top laners. So the pick ban phase between Dylan Falco and David Lim is going to be very important, I think, for both of these teams. Rainover has still been making some silly mistakes in the jungle that I think Lyra can exploit. But at the end of the day, I have a hard time trusting Envious. I just overall, their macro game is very sloppy still, and it's just really, really reliant on Seraph getting a lead and feeling very comfortable being their primary engager. So I wouldn't write it in pen. I'd probably barely write it in pencil, but I think this is probably going to be a pretty close series as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of the things that you have to point to of why you would expect Envious to maybe turn things around in a series like this. Well, you'd point to Lyra, who played very well.
Lyra was fantastic, yeah.
His Lee Sin game was amazing. His mechanics are clearly very solid, but he's going up against Rainover. So that's not a great advantage for in that matchup. So now, you look at, Seraph, he needs to be a focal point for them. He's playing against Lorlo, who desperately needs a bounce back game after last week. Yeah. And I think it's kind of hard to imagine him playing as badly as he did last week. I don't think he's necessarily going to play as well as he did in week 1 to a certain extent. I think that he's going to kind of fluctuate between those 2 points, but I don't trust that to go fully in Seraph's favor.
Rainover needs the bounce back game more though. Like we've been given an exploit against Rainovers that he doesn't play Lee Sin. He just doesn't play Lee Sin, and that got brought up on the broadcast and all this stuff. Like, that's massive because that's one of the junglers that's that's been consistently a good jungler since season 2, and you're not good at it. Like, you can't play it. It's to the point where they aren't picking it. They are handicapped, and they have to leave open a jungler for him to be able to play. That's why you saw Inori get Rengar. Is because Team Liquid left both Kha'Zix and Rengar up and said, well, Rainover is going to play one of these, and they, pick Kha'Zix instead. So the fact he doesn't play Lee Sin is a very, very big question mark, because after Kha'Zix and Rengar, it goes to Rek'Sai, and he's a decent Rek'Sai, but after that, it forces you to pick a jungler in those first 3 picks. And that could be very, very exploitable for Blue Side, especially when Team Liquid is forced to ban Rengar. I would waste 2 of my picks on Kha'Zix or Rek'Sai, or 1 pick on Kha'Zix or Rek'Sai, and just pick the other, and just say, okay, you're either gonna play Lee Sin or what? Go to Elise, go to Zac. That's not optimal for Team Liquid. So the Lee Sin is a huge pressure point against them.
I'd like to point out, Rainover's played 205 games. He's played Lee Sin in 3 of them. That's insane! It's Lee Sin! I did not realize this until you just brought it up. That's crazy! He has a 1.94 KDA on it, which is by far the lowest of any champion that he's played multiple times. Other than, I guess, technically his 1.36 KDA on Hecarim. How? How are we here with this? This is...
Game over, boys!
Yeah, clearly.
Game over.
I guess this segment will be over as soon as you give me the line here, Walter. Where do you think it ends up?
I have Team Liquid minus 350.
Okay, I get this one.
Because it's lower than that.
I said Team Liquid minus 333. It's Team Liquid minus 278. And I know you said you swore off 2 O's. That's Envious at plus 200, by the way. And I know you swore off 2 O's. But we could get Liquid to 2-0 this series at plus 120. Positive odds that Envious loses 2 games.
No.
Okay.
No.
That's fine.
No. Because Envious is going to get 1 game on Blue Side. No.
See, and the funny thing is, I think that theoretically, right, you'd imagine they'd want to be on Red Side, because Red is where the counter picks come in, and you want to give Seraph a counter. That's how this team needs to run.
Well, that's true, but then you can't exploit Rainover's lack of Lee Sin play.
it's going to be an interesting one. I'm curious to see which direction they take it. I think both strategies are.
I think both are reasonable. Like I would focus on Reignover because Reignover is the key that's going to make everything else work.
Yeah,
that's just me personally.
Let's go move on to Saturday's games, and we start Saturday with a rivalry that doesn't look like the star-studded match that it usually would be around this time of year. Counter Logic Gaming versus Team Liquid. TSM, excuse me.
Not Team Liquid.
Solo Mid. We just talked about Liquid. Team Solo Mid. It's the CLG TSM rivalry game, and yet I'm not detecting almost any hype for it. Walter, let's start by on the TSM side of things.
Oh, starting on the TSM side of things.
Why are we hearing things like Mark Z saying TSM is too smart to get blown out, but too stupid to close out a game?
Too talented to get blown out, but too stupid to close out games.
Yeah, how did we get here? Because you're the TSM expert, so I have to ask you, how did we get here?
Because we're too talented to get blown out of games, and we're too stupid to end them. We have no shot calling. We have absolutely no shot calling. I don't know who our shot caller is. It's obviously not Double Lift because he's streaming some stupid game right now. Like, he's doing whatever the hell else he wants with his life. Mm-hmm. And I guess it falls back on Bjergsen. Bjergsen obviously did not learn anything in the 2 splits that he spent with Double Lift being a primary shot caller. I don't know who's shot calling for them. It's literally the only reason that they've been as successful as they've been has been the individual playmaking of Haunters and Svenskeren and Bjergsen. It's been individual playmaking. It's been Haunters going off in the third game against Dignitas. Like, that's what it's been. It's been their talent winning out. Mm-hmm. And I know Turtle came up, and I think it was with Red Bull, where he said, it's going to take us a while to get used to each other and get used to shot calling. Like, we don't really have a leader. I'm like paraphrasing here. It's going to take us a few weeks to get there. Like, if they get there, cool, that's great. Then they have the talent and they also have the shot calling. This just reminds me a lot of Spring Split with Yellow Star, where it was really trying to figure things out, really trying to find that missing piece. And I think the missing piece is Double Lift. Like, you sent me the clip earlier of Double Lift saying he's going to try to play in the LCS again next split. I think if you're Reggie, you have to. I think this is almost going to be the same Dart as the Dardox situation.
I think that Reggie's probably outside Double Lift's house right now with a boombox and the music with the rain. Like, Double Lift, come back. I miss you, buddy. We need
everybody's.
You.
It's just Chowster saying everybody's trash, everybody's trash, everybody's trash.
Yeah, just over and over. It's amazing how they keep passing the buck on this, right? Well, Bjergsen wants to be the shot. Bjergsen should be the shot caller, but no, Bjergsen doesn't like being a shot caller. He tried it for 2 splits and he doesn't.
Bad at it.
Okay, he's bad at it. Okay, we accept that. So then your jungler should be. Well, Svenskaren's not really mentally the kind of guy to be shot calling. Okay, well then your support. Well, he's a little bit inexperienced. Okay, well you can't make excuses for everybody on the team. Somebody, and trust me, I've coached a team. I know how hard it can be. A lot of players don't want to shot call. But your Team Solo Mid, you knew the situation when Double Lift left. You knew he was your shot caller. You signed Wild Turtle anyway. How do you not have a plan for this? How are we still asking in week 3? I wonder who's going to make a decision for TSM. How? It's TSM. This shouldn't be happening.
Just start Reggie. Just bench Bjergsen, bring back Reggie. Just have him pull a high. He'll just play Ken in mid lane, and he'll suicide every single time, but it'll be brain dead engaged, and everybody will know what's going on, and it'll be wonderful.
First of all, Karthus, or I don't care. But second of all,
if we want to see the rise of Karthus, it's either going to be Reggie or Froggen.
Yeah. It's in play. I think that the only thing that probably makes TSM fans feel better about all of this is the immense amount of talent that's going to buy you time to figure this out. And congratulations, by the way, of being one of the few teams in this world that can get away with this kind of, learning period, whatever they eventually move towards.
Spend a lot of money on it. Thank you.
Yes. CLG, on the other hand, there aren't any excuses as to why CLG is struggling as much as they are. There isn't a shot caller that left. Everyone came back for the 2nd split in a row. So, what's going on? Is it as simple as just they're forcing it?
They're forcing it. They're forcing it in the early game. They understand that their solo laners are weaker than most of their opponents, and Xmithy is trying to go out of his way to make plays. And rather than be very cohesive in his, like, you'll see moments. There'll be some very cohesive moments where, you've got Hui roaming top with Xmithie to get a kill for Darshan against, I think it was against Balls, against FlyQuest. Like, very well done. Or no, it was against Impact. It was very well done. Get 3 people top, get the kill on Impact, push down towers. Like, you see that cohesion. And then there are other times where Darshan just overextends and Xmithie's nowhere near him and he has no ward control and he just gets caught out. Like, that was the biggest thing in the Cloud9 series, was just kept getting caught out.
Yeah.
Kept overextending time after time after time. And that's forcing it. That is Darshan forcing the issue and going, I need to win my lane. I need to get this 1 extra CS. I need to step forward here and challenge him. It's just not thinking. It's just going, I need to make a play. And it's departing from everything that made CLG successful, which was team. What is best for the team? What is the best macro decision? And there were times where, Darshan would step back. And he'd go, I could go for that extra CS, but I'm not sure about it. And you can go back and you can watch their run from summer to spring, going to MSI, where he would make the right decision. And they just aren't making the right decisions anymore. And it's punishing everyone. They're not covering up deficiencies anymore. They're overexposing these deficiencies by not covering for each other, by not saying, well, I need to have my jungler here so I feel confident to take this tower, instead of, well, I'm just going to shove this in the tower and back real quick. And all of a sudden Contracts is there to kill me. Like, you're trundle into a Nautilus, for Christ's sake. Like, you don't have any way out of that. You have very little CC. If you don't have your flash, there's nothing you can do once Nautilus hits 6. If that Kha'Zix is there, you're dead. It's over. It's done. There's very little you can do. And it's just no brain. It's just not thinking. And Darshan, at this point in his career, you said earlier we have to have patience with younger players. At this point in his career, there is no patience with Darshan. You should be better than that. You've been playing since season 2, dude. Yeah. Like, you've been you know what happens when you overextend with no vision. And I get it. Words are cheaper now. Words are easier to play. So there's no pink word. Blah, blah, blah. Any of these things. Like, you should know better. I don't care how many changes to the game have happened in 5 years. You should know better. And, yeah. I don't want to make it all about him. Aframu's having some roams that are just pointless. Yeah. Where they aren't set up very well by either his laner or by himself. He gets caught out. He doesn't have good vision control. Then he leaves Stixxay alone. I still think Stixxay is the bright spot on this team. I think he's their best player. I think he's still performing admirably, and he is intelligent enough when Aframu does leave the lane to go, okay, I'm against a Zyra and a Varus. Like, I'm going to step back. And if they dive me under tower, okay, they dive me under tower. But I'm going to step back. So I think everybody kind of needs to learn from Stixxay there, and they need some more team cohesion, and they need to pull some more plays out of their playbook.
Yeah, and I think you nailed it on the head. This is an intelligence and a decision-making problem. I would even go so far as to say it's a discipline problem above everything else. The early game is all about, individual skill matchups and setting yourself up. And that's part CLG's done well. They're tied for 3rd at goal differential at 15 minutes right now with FlyQuest. They are putting themselves in a position to at least be in every single one of these games. And it's as soon as they're forced to make a decision, as soon as they're the ones who have to try to dictate the pace and move around the map, they are making very silly mistakes.
Yep. And
there are 2 ways to take that. The option A is they somehow lose all of their talent at 15 minutes, which I don't think is very likely.
Rocket did that.
Yeah, Rocket, it's not unprecedented. I just said unlikely, not unprecedented.
It's got to get that dig in there.
Yeah, it's thank goodness. The knife here really needed a good twist. But
like one of those wind-up toys. I gotta just...
They're just... With CLG, it's just the decision making. And as soon as, they start calming down and playing with the kind of, discipline and playing into the system that Ziggs has spent so much time and energy creating, they're going to be fine. The problem I have is that how long does a slump have to happen before you stop believing in what they're building, right? Because we saw a slump before. We saw it in the summer, and they did bounce back, and everything's fine. And I am of the opinion that maybe, that's just how CLG is doing things. Maybe they don't put as much energy into the beginning of the split as they do in the end. I don't like it, but it would at least make sense of now we've seen it 2 splits in a row.
Correct.
But you can't bounce back forever. People eventually mentally check out. if they don't believe that they're getting any farther close towards their goals. And we're not there yet, and I think we're still a couple weeks from being there. But this is a team I'm going to be watching very closely because there are enough mental mistakes being made that if emotions start playing into this, it could go very badly in the wrong direction.
I think there's 4 teams fighting for that 6th seed in the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
I think CLG is one of them. I think Team Liquid is one of them too.
Yeah.
Now that we just talked about them. And we're going to talk about another one of them next.
That is true.
But
let's get there first.
Yeah.
Where do you think the line is for this game?
I have TSM minus 175. I think the casinos recognize this is still a TSM versus CLG series.
You are correct. I thought it should be even higher. I said TSM minus 220. It is TSM minus 169. So you got it almost exactly there. That's CLG plus 130, which if CLG had shown any signs of life or macro efficiency greater than what TSM's putting out there right now, I'd have to consider. But they both kind of have similar flaws, so I think I'm going to say stay away. I think this is about as obvious.
I need to get a soundboard, so every time you do that, I just hit a button.
That would
it's
be
like
great.
weenie in the butt.
Stay
away! Stay away!
We'll make that happen. Let's keep going. FlyQuest versus Dignitas. We'll save our thoughts for FlyQuest for later. I gave a couple things on Dignitas earlier. I'm not happy with how they played.
That's fine.
I have some concerns. You, of course, had much higher hopes for Dignitas heading into the season, so you're not as blinded. Like for me, this is maybe confirmation bias playing in. So
That's fine.
maybe let's look at things on the other angle. Someone who was high on Dignitas after last week. How do you look at what we just saw?
So I think the TSM loss is justifiable. TSM has obviously been playing together for a much longer period of time than Dignitas. I also think they didn't really try to go after Bjergsen all that much. It really was sort of let Bjergsen run wild, especially in games 2 and 3. And I thought that's, if you have Keen, you have the ultimate, Bjergsen counter, you should use it. I think that TSM did show a very, very heavy focus on Someday and realizing that he is a major, crux of what things do. And Chaser needs to realize that it's got to be one of the 2 lanes. He can't let both his solo lanes collapse. I think Keen, God, I can't believe I'm saying this. I think Keen does have the talent that if he is focused on by his own jungler, he can carry. Mm-hmm. I said he's not a primary carry, but I think he's shown in 2 weeks that if you really do put some focus on him and get him going, and he has shown this before in his career, that if you work to get him going, that if you make the plan and you get him going, he will reward you. There have been times where teams have played around him. I'm thinking of all the anti-Bjergsen carry games where they played around Keen, and if you put the energy into him, you get a return on your investment. And Chaser just needs to decide, when both lanes are going bad, which lane does he go to? And instead, he sort of hovers between both of them and picks, goes back and forth. Oh, I gotta help Someday. Oh, I gotta help Keen. Oh, I gotta help Someday. Pick one, dude. Sacrifice one to the Wolves, and the Jace game in game 2. I think it truly has to be, all right, our Jace is done. Let's play, let's try and play 4v4 with the Arrow and Orianna combination on Kha'Zix. Let's play the pick game. Let's play the pick game, have Jace poke him down when we get around objectives. It can still work, and they never really did that to a great extent. And then this is the criticism of Xpecial coming in, is that he's not doing a good job in clearing flank wards. He really allowed multiple times for Haunters to get in behind, to get in on the sides. Their control warding is suspect. I think their warding in general is just kind of suspect. But they do have these really, really solid plays. They have these excellent plays. I think Lot is just improving as an AD carry. He has had some silly deaths where he's been caught out, but I think that's primarily because his jungler and support kind of leave him to just, you're on your own, buddy. We're going to go help the solo laners. Which is something he can adapt to. He just needs to not overextend so much. He needs to realize when it's time to give up a tower. He needs to realize when it's time to give up farm. He's still semi-young in the position. I'm concerned about the Echo Fox loss, but I think that was more Echo Fox playing up to the level of competition than Dignitas necessarily playing down. Again, I still think Lod kept getting caught out. I think that their wording wasn't great. That Looper was able to get into a lot of flanking positions. I think that entire roster is just playing above their station currently. So I am more worried than I was coming into week 3 about Dignitas, but I've still seen enough. They still won one game in each one of those series, and there were moments where the game could have swung back and forth if one play had gone one way or the other. But you can say that about every game of League of Legends. So
but
I'm not concerned,
right.
but I'm even keeled about them. I'm like, okay, maybe they aren't going to be a number 1 or 2 seed going into the playoffs, but I still feel confident about where I think they can end up.
Yeah, welcome to the 76ers. Trust the process, right? That's how all this goes.
You can't say trust the process for every team in League of Legends.
I don't.
You can't do this.
I think that for Dignitas, it's probably the most fair. I think that's safe to say.
They are.
And not just because they got, they're owned by it, but also because, look, Chaser's a guy that we knew was going to take time because he didn't look all that great on Longzhu, and he needs to, develop these synergies together. And I think that Dignitas is still figuring out how they want to play these games, what they want their win condition to be. Absolutely. And as soon as they start playing to win instead of not to lose, they're going to be in a better place.
Absolutely.
I would like to see them come up with a win condition that wasn't get someday fed. I think Keen has been a nice byproduct, but I don't think that's what they've ever been trying to do. I'd like to see some more compositions that are actually focused on it 100%. That don't involve a 0, of course, because that's a whole other problem. Where do you think the line is, Walter?
I have FlyQuest at -135. I still think the casinos are undervaluing FlyQuest.
Okay, neither of us get a point.
Dignitas are favorites.
I had FlyQuest -140. It is Dignitas -149. So that's FlyQuest +115 for those of you following along our smart money bet section. Oh my god. How are we still this wrong about a team? How have we adjusted?
Because they had no start. Their starting point, I explained it last week on the podcast. Their starting point is at 1200 elo. They're in silver. It doesn't matter that they're playing with challenger level. They have to get their MMR.
I was going to say, what about Misfits? They adjusted for Misfits. How could you adjust for Misfits and not
Europe is a different beast. That's all I know.
No,
Europe is a different beast.
No.
I don't know. I don't know. Level of Misfits is competition? I don't know.
Look. You want to keep giving us plus value on FlyQuest? We're going to keep taking it, and we'll get to FlyQuest a little bit more later. But Liquid versus Echo Fox. We've already talked about Liquid. I already brought up my feelings on Echo Fox. You said they were playing above their station when you look at how they did last week. How do they turn what looks like playing, out of their heads into the new normal? What can they do this week to kind of help cement that new identity?
I mean, winning a couple more games would help. Beating Team Liquid and having a really good best-of-3 series against Cloud9, I think, would help. I think part of it is that they've been extremely reliant on Keith not making a lot of stupid decisions. Sure, he's been getting caught out, but he's been hitting the majority of his arrows on Varus and Ashe. He's been hitting a majority of his Jhin ultimates. People aren't really challenging that bot lane. They aren't really going after it constantly. And, any time that it does look like that Keith is going to get dove under tower, the rest of the team is making a play elsewhere. We've seen Froggen on multiple Twisted Fate games at this point. We've seen him play the Anivia. We've seen him roaming around a lot. This is not the Froggen that just sits in lane and farms anymore. Yeah. He's actually proactively making plays. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, and I don't want to commit blasphemy here, but I'm going to say it. Acadian and Froggen remind me of Season 3 Alex Each and Diamond Prox.
Ooh, man.
High praise coming from me, and this is why, is that Alex and Diamond would roam a lot. Usually it would be to the bottom lane. It would usually be towards Genja and Edward, and Darien would be the sacrificial lamb of I'm playing AP Lizard Wizard, and get at me, son. I'm still going to take your tower. You're going to send 4 people to kill me. I'm going to get Dragon and 2 towers in the bot lane. And Echo Fox is playing the opposite of that. They're playing, screw Keith. You die, you give up your tower, whatever. We're going to make plays on the top side of the map. And constantly, they're making plays on the top side of the map. They're constantly going to Looper's lane. They're constantly going into the top side enemy jungle. I wish I had a program that could, tell me exactly. But I think if you want to talk about, quadrant gravity, it's whatever, the north and the western parts of the map are where they like to play. They like to go after the top lane. They like to get Looper ahead. And they're putting a lot of interesting thoughts into the pick and ban phase. You know, we can chuckle about Camille's support and go, well, it won a game, so I guess it works. But that was incredibly well thought out. And I think it was Freak that tweeted it that said they turned a negative Camille into Poppy matchup into an amazing Swain into Poppy matchup just by sending the Camille into the bot lane. And talking with some people, it's been scouted. Most people knew that Gate played Camille in the support role in solo queue. Like, it wasn't well hidden. And it just more spoke to FlyQuest being overconfident that they didn't need to ban Camille. And it was probably because they're like, yeah, we have the counter pick. Like, we know how to beat it. Well, do you know how to beat it in bot lane? And they did well. Like, they played well into it. But they were scared enough of it that in game 2, that, you know, game 2 and game 3, it wasn't played. So I'm just very intrigued. And like I said earlier, Acadian is probably going to be the rookie of the split. Like, unless he totally drops off a cliff and Echo Fox loses their next umpteen games, like, I think Acadian is the front runner for rookie of the split. He is playing better than Contracts. He is playing aggressive.
Fans are so mad at you right now. I agree with you.
I don't care. I don't care. They have an 82% first blood rate. Cloud9 is at 30. They have almost 1,500 gold differential at 15 minutes. That's double second place. That's triple third place. Come at me. Maybe by the end of the split it'll be done. But right now at week 2, going into week 3, Acadian is the rookie of the split. And I don't think you can argue it.
Look, I agree with you. I think that Acadian has been playing out of his mind. I love the version of Froggen we're seeing right now. I think this is the version that you and I were hoping to see all of last year and just never quite came out.
This is the version of Alex Each I wanted to see anytime that he played after Renegades, even on Renegades. Like,
yeah, it's nice to see. Where do you think the line is, Walter? Are all these nice things enough to affect the line for you?
Not enough. I have Team Liquid at -150.
Oh wow, you got it almost exactly.
Yes.
So I said Liquid -170. It is Liquid -149. So literally almost exactly. That's Echo Fox plus 115, by the way. It's the same line that Dignitas has over FlyQuest. So just to be clear, apparently Liquid is just as likely to beat Echo Fox as Dignitas is to beat FlyQuest. Ergo, we're probably taking both of them as our smart money picks, right?
I'm liking both of them at this point. I don't know if both pay off.
Well, let's keep going. Let's see if there's anything
I
else.
like them better than Phoenix 1 2-0ing Immortals. I'll put it that way.
Yes, I think that's fair. Cloud9 versus Envious. We already talked about Envious. I don't think that we need to really be talking about them in terms of Cloud9. They are so far away from where Cloud9 is playing right now.
Hey, everyone at home. Cloud9 are still at their ceiling, except Contracts is making them better. I haven't seen anything out of any of the 4 other players that makes me go, wow, he's really improved since summer. Fight me. I don't care. I don't care that Jensen has 3 MVP, series MVPs. He's showing some flashiness. Guess what? At the beginning of the summer split, he showed some flashiness too. Let's calm down here. You guys are the best team in North America right now. We'll see where you guys are at the end of the split, okay? Just calm down. Don't come at me yet.
Look, someone pointed this out.
changed.
They haven't actually won anything since the spring of 2014. That was the last time they've won or it's been a while at least since they've won an LCS championship. I got it.
I'll look it up right now.
Yeah, go.
I have it right here. So they won the North American regionals, and they won the 2015 North American regionals.
Right.
They have not. They won.
When was the last time they won a split? They were the champs.
Do you want round robin stage or playoffs?
Playoffs. Playoffs are all that matter.
2014 spring playoffs.
That's what I thought. There we are. It's been spring 2014. So you know what, Cloud9 fans? You want to get excited about being the best team in North America? Feel free. You haven't done this since 2014 spring. I'm going to give it to you. I think it's fair to hold them to a higher standard because I think they're playing to a higher standard than most of the other teams we're talking about. But look, if that's really all you want, then enjoy it. Where do you think the line is, Walter?
I have Cloud9 at -550.
You did not go high enough.
Okay.
I said -800. I did not go high enough. Cloud9 -2,500. That actually will put in a sound effect for the record. That's amazing. Envious at plus 850. This is gonna be rough.
Long shot? $5?
No.
No?
Maybe? No.
$5? Lira against contracts?
I couldn't talk you
$5?
into like even considering Envious at plus 200 over Liquid. Now you're trying to say, oh, but against Cloud9 though?
$5?
Come on now.
$5? Cloud9 has to lose sometime, dude. $5?
Stop it.
$5?
Phoenix 1 versus TSM. We've talked about both of these teams. Is there any one thing that stands out in your mind as the difference maker here?
I think it's going to come down to the Zig versus Haunters matchup. I think that's really what it's gonna come down to. Phoenix One has shown that they can win in multiple different ways with multiple different lanes. I think Inori versus Fedczuk is kind of a wash. I think Ryu versus Bjergsen is kind of a wash. I think that's where TSM could get the upper hand is with Haunters. And we saw one really, really good series out of Zig against Lorlo. I'd like to see if he can do it against someone that I consider to be a better top laner than Lorlo. At the same time, Arrow and Adrian, I'm waiting for a breakout game from either of them, and we haven't had it yet. It's sitting there. A breakout Arrow Kog'Maw game with a Lulu support is sitting there. So, I'm very intrigued by this series. I think this is going to be one of our semifinals.
I just love that we're talking about Adrian not really doing anything amazing when he's the third highest KDA, in all of.
But he's overshadowed by Ryu, Inori, and Zig. That's the point. He's amazing in terms of all the supports, but when you look at his team, he's completely overshadowed.
Yeah, they need to do a better job accentuating. And I will say, right now, I like Phoenix One on the Rift as far as decision making goes a little bit more than what I'm seeing from TSM.
Totally
TSM's
agree.
gonna prep for it
Totally
crazy.
Agree. And Nori has more pressure in the early game than Fedczuk. He's actually actively making plays within what the game is giving him.
So if we're gonna take all that in as a factor, Walter, where do you think the line should be?
TSM minus 155. Come on.
Okay, you get this one.
Yeah, of course I get this one.
I said TSM minus 130.
And you're a fool. You're just a guy from Georgia.
It's TSM minus 200.
Interesting.
So that's Phoenix 1 plus 150. Just throwing that out there. Just throwing it out there. It's something we might want to come back to. Dignitas versus CLG, another two teams that we have talked about. What is the thing that stands out to you in this matchup, Walter? Is it as simple as Dignitas has just been looking better, or is there something that CLG can do to try to turn things around for them in this particular matchup?
This is definitely Dignitas has been playing better. I think this is going to come down to jungles and which jungler can help his solo lanes more. I think that's as simple as it is. Which one is more effective, Chaser or Xmithie? And I think both of them have been playing pretty evenly compared to each other so far this split. I think Someday versus Darshan has been a pretty even matchup if you look at everything. I think Someday has had a bit higher high with some carrying. I don't think Darshan is actually super hard carried a game. And I think Keen versus Hui is, both can rock and both can suck. So at the end of the day, it's going to really come down to which lanes do Xmithie and Chaser prioritize and which lanes do they get ahead.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And I also want to bring up, we haven't really seen, we've seen a lot of different coaches take advantage of the, new 10-ban system. I haven't seen that hyper clever Zix draft that I think both of us were expecting when we previewed him in the preseason.
Nope.
It feels like Dignitas is the kind of team that you would expect Zix to be able to
something funky.
You would expect something weird, something
Talia.
to get the team back going.
Talia 80 carry?
I don't know, man. There's got to be something. I refuse to believe that CLG is just sitting there looking at 1 and 3 and being in 9th place and saying this is fine.
Azir mid, Ziggs bot. There we go. There's your cheese.
I could get behind that. Where do you think the line is?
I have CLG at minus 135.
Okay, I get this one. Because I said it was going to be even. And it is Dignitas minus 137.
Hang on a second.
So CLG
No. I'm not going to let this one go. No. You picked even, meaning you were too chicken to pick either team to be a favorite. So no, this doesn't count. This doesn't count.
Stop it.
You don't get to call even and then get to win if it's Dignitas. Come on.
That's not fair. You picked the wrong team. I said it was a toss-up. They said Dignitas. I'm still closer than you.
Okay,
Provably.
What is... It's Dignitas?
CLG plus 105, Dignitas minus 137.
I'm on to you, Mr. Wassenar.
Look, man, all you had to do was pick the right team to be favored, and you would have gotten it. Literally all you had to do. Any line would have beaten me from that point forward. So, I think you really got yourself to
I'm
win.
on to your game here.
I just want to understand why Dignitas is favored in this series. Like, you thought CLG was going to be favored. I thought that's kind of where we were, too, and just how the odds were going last week. Whatever.
What do we know, man? What do we know?
Yeah, I'm not betting CLG plus 105 here. That's going to be a very tough sell.
Yeah.
Immortals versus FlyQuest. FlyQuest are a very interesting team. I think that people were very unhappy with critics like ourselves when we were not very high on them. They were very excited last week when they were 2-0 heading into the week.
Yep.
Now I think, do we start seeing some movement back down to earth, or do you think that Echo Fox is a blip on an otherwise successful? Oh, so you think FlyQuest has got this?
No. I don't agree with that. I don't think we're gonna see movement back down to earth from their fans.
I
think their heads are up in the clouds. I think they're on a jet, 35,000 feet above the earth. They're sipping champagne. It's probably Rick Fox's jet. They probably stole it from him. Yeah. Just like Echo Fox stole that series from FlyQuest.
Oh.
See what I did there? No, I think that FlyQuest played exceptionally well. I think they exposed that there is a major weak point in balls, and that you can exploit that. And, listen, High can't deal 10,000 damage in one team fight and take out a tank by himself. Yeah. Like, that's just not going to happen. And, Alltech and Lemon Nation haven't done anything either that's been truly, amazing. It's been kind of muted. And that's how I feel about a lot of AD carries, is just there's not a whole lot they can do besides hitting their ults. But it puts so much more pressure onto your carries if your AD carry isn't doing a whole lot of damage. If you're building this poke Varus build where you're going the tier and you're going mainly armor pen where all you're trying to do is hit your Qs, it's not helpful in killing a tank. And I don't dig it. I don't like the build in general. I don't like anybody does it. But Alltech in particular, who does have sort of a historical problem in dealing damage in team fights because he's skittish, it doesn't help. You would think that, skirting around the edge of a team fight and just throwing out Varus Qs would help him, or, Ash Ws. But it doesn't feel like he's doing a whole lot once he unloads his ultimate. And then Moon. Moon is not a rookie, even though I keep thinking he is. But yeah, he actually has played in the LCS. And he's not playing as well as the other young North American. He's not playing as well as Inori. He's not playing as well as Arcadian. He's not playing as well as Contracts. I think he's playing a little bit better than Dardoch. A little bit more even. He's not carrying as hard as Dardoch has carried, but he's not playing as badly. I think he's like a nice middle ground currently when you're looking at all the North American junglers. So the problem is I see weaknesses in Immortals in the mid and the bottom lane, and the mid lane is FlyQuest's greatest strength. So I'm not quite sure unless they do the same. Unless Immortals do the same thing against FlyQuest that they have to do against Phoenix One, and they just get Flame so far ahead that he can just split push them to victory. You talk about Someday. Someday needs to carry the team. This is a team that Flame needs to carry the team, and he is less likely to carry a team than Someday is.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm gonna stop the people who are already typing away about your Alltech comment by just giving you a couple stats. He does have the third most kills of any AD carry in the league right now. The second highest KDA, the most assists. So to say that he's not doing a lot to stand out, I don't think is quite fair. I think the bigger problem that I have, and this is something that no one wants to talk about, but let's be realistic here. The three teams that FlyQuest have beaten, CLG, Envious, and Liquid. Who are the three bottom teams in the North American LCS right now? Liquid, CLG, and Envious. They've only beaten the worst teams, guys. Like, I understand that, it was a close series against Echo Fox. I don't necessarily want to penalize them too much for it, but maybe we slow the roll until they get a good win against a good team, like an actual good team and not just a team that's supposed to be good because the name seems good. Like, even if CLG and Liquid end up turning out great, they're not playing well right now. I want to see them play a team like a Phoenix One or a TSM or a Cloud9, some of these teams that are playing at their best right now, and see how they match up, because that's really what's going to tell us whether FlyQuest has staying power. So obviously, High being the league MVP right now, as far as the Player of the Game awards go, do help though, and he has been better than I think either of us thought was going to happen.
Just to further my point, High is second in share of his team's damage. Yes. He's just behind Froggen by about a point. High is at 29.2%. Alltech is at 22%, which places him at 8th out of all 80 carries. Now, when you just look at DPM, the damage he's doing per minute, he's 3rd, but the actual share of his damage, he's 8 points lower, basically, than his mid laner. And that's what I build into. High can't do everything.
He can't.
He can't. Right. And if you're going to put balls on tanks, which he should be, and Moon's been, he's been doing some damage, but he's mostly been an initiator, and he's mostly been playing like Rek'Sai and more tanky kind of builds, more engagey kind of builds where he's kind of getting blown up pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. Someone else has to step up, because High is not going to be able to do 29% of your damage the entire season. He is not that good of a player. He's an excellent shot caller. I will give him that. I'll give you guys that time of day all day long. But he's not that good of a damage dealer. He is not that good of a player mechanically in team fights. He also is playing a lot of easy damage in Corki. So when he doesn't get to play Corki, when he doesn't get to play Syndra, where it's kind of easy to do damage, what happens when you're 80 carries at 22% of your team damage? Maybe it comes up, but I just don't see it. So
yeah. We're going to see this team have to play a very different style very soon, because they're going to start playing the kind of teams that know how to game plan and are very aware of how to play to multiple different win conditions. And they haven't been necessarily tested the way that they probably should have been by the teams that they've beaten. I think that says more about the teams that, the teams that have lost than anything else. But where do you see this particular series ending up as far as the line is concerned?
I swear to God, if Immortals are favored in this series, I'm going to go nuts. FlyQuest minus 135.
Well, you don't have to worry. It's not an Immortals favorite game. You are going to win the week with this. I said FlyQuest minus 200. Okay. That was too much. It is even. It's an even line. And this is why it's totally not ridiculous, because I'm going to give this to you, even though no team is favored. So it's fine. It totally works itself out. One could even say it evened itself out. One could say.
Boo!
I didn't say one should. I said they could. Let's move on. We might come back to that too. That should not be an even series. That's a little crazy. So let's wrap this up real quick. Cloud9 versus Echo Fox. You already said earlier that this Cloud9 team hasn't really done anything to surprise you or really change your mind per se. Is there anything that we can say to Cloud9 fans that'll, is there anything that really cements them clearly above Echo Fox that we can point to here?
I mean, you're the number one team in the league. Echo Fox had one good week. You guys have played 4 really good series. I will give that to you. The CLG series was a little bit closer than anyone probably expected, but I think that was CLG playing a little bit about where we expect them to play, as opposed to Cloud9 playing any worse. And CLG always plays up to their competition. If you're a better team, CLG gives you one heck of a series, and I think some of that has to do with Zixlol. Against Echo Fox, it's you guys can beat them at their game. You guys can fight them in the top lane. Impact is a very hard person to kill. Your bottom lane is better than Keith and at Gate. Just be ready for a Camille support, I guess. Don't get caught in that trap.
Reaper isn't the guy who's usually.
Yeah, I'm not worried about this game for Cloud9. I'm not worried about them. They're the number one team in North America right now, and just by nature of their players, they're the number one team. Like I said, they were the number 2 team in North America at the end of last split. They made it to the quarterfinals of Worlds, and they upgraded their jungler position. So theoretically, they're better than where they ended last split. But I think the other teams around them can get better and end up better than them at the end of the split.
Yeah, and I think
Same
that's
thing I've
totally
always said.
I understand. I'm making sure, I want Cloud9 fans to hear all the positive things, because they always say that we don't say them. We totally did. You just got a whole bunch of them in a row.
Yep.
Didn't necessarily end positive, but you did get a lot of positive things in a row there, just for the record. Where does the line end up here, Walter?
I have Cloud9 at minus 400.
Okay, I get this one, so I'm not completely blown out here. I said minus 500. It is minus 625 for Cloud9. That puts Echo Fox at plus 390. which seems a little bit high, I'd say. I mean, Echo Fox looked good last week. Not as good as Cloud9, mind you, but
I would.
still looked good.
I would say that's high. I would say that's definitely a high line.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Because we're at the smart money bet section.
We are at the smart money bet section.
Do you like Echo Fox plus 110 to win a single map against Cloud9? At least one. All they have to do is not get 2-0'd. I know you don't want to make any 2-0 bets, but what about not getting 2-0'd? Is that a safe bet?
Echo Fox not getting 2-0'd. The problem is that Phoenix 2-0'd them and were an exceptionally better team. I feel like Phoenix 1 can do the exact, like, but again, like Zig, I wouldn't expect Zig to get, like, Impact is much better than Zig.
Yeah.
But they were able to, like, kill Someday multiple times, so it's possible. Well, I guess we can keep it as a third option. We can take
FlyQuest over Immortals even right now, for the record. Which, just so people at home know, that's minus 114. It's called even because both teams have the same odds. It's basically the casino saying, it's a coin flip. We're not giving you full value because, you know.
I like that one. Yeah, I'd say lock that one as them even.
Yeah, so we have FlyQuest going 2-0 this week if you're following both our smart money bets. So that should be interesting. Where do we want to take Echo Fox plus 115 over Team Liquid? Because I don't think Echo Fox goes 2-0 0-2 this week.
I think they beat Liquid. I think they probably get 2-0 by Cloud9.
Okay, so that's FlyQuest plus 115 over Dignitas, Echo Fox plus 115 over Liquid, and FlyQuest even over Immortals.
I'm gonna keep writing FlyQuest until they stop making us money.
Yeah. Well, look, as long as Unicorn wants to keep giving us FlyQuest value, we're not gonna say no. Like that seems fine to me. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this podcast. I know at least one of you guys at home has been enjoying it. I think it was Stuttgart, was it? The guy on Twitter who brought up betting against us purposefully? That I really enjoyed that.
Yes, you are correct.
Yeah, Stuckrath, excuse me. Stuckrath the Fifth. He's a German guy on Twitter who follows us, and he purposely bet against us in order to make money off of that Phoenix 1 game. Shout out to him for that.
These are our listeners.
And shout out to all of you that are listening in. Where can the nice people at home find you, Walter, if they want to talk to us during the week and maybe get a shout out themselves?
Well, 3 weeks in, Chase and I are tied 3-3. This is a pretty close year for us. Usually Chase has jumped out to like a 2 or 3 point lead. You guys can find me. Hey, it's just like Worlds, right? You guys can find me at Ceades _LOL.
Awesome. I'm at RedShirtKing. We love hearing from you guys, so please, feel free to talk to us either on there in the comments section. We read all of it, and we really appreciate you guys listening in. Come back on Monday. We have got an interview with the CEO of an LCS team, a guy that we have been looking forward to talking to for a while now. We're not going to reveal who it is, but we can tell you that we absolutely loved talking to him. One could even say it was a magical experience. Is that safe to say, Walter?
I would say it was definitely magical for me.
Yes. So
I'm feeling a little rosy in my cheeks. My cheeks are a little pink.
So we will embrace that interview on Monday. So be back then. And until then, goodbye, Internet.
Hey there, Ceades here. Thanks for checking out the podcast. And if you enjoyed today's episode, consider supporting us at www.patreon.com/roughdraftspod. For just $1 a month, you can join your fellow listeners in our patron-only Discord channel and help keep the content coming, or join our VIP club where $1 a show or $8 a month gets you first priority on all patron content like our patron-only Q&As. And check us out on all of our social media, Twitter @RoughDraftsPod, Facebook.com/RoughDraftsPod, SoundCloud.com/esportsroughdrafts, as well as on iTunes and YouTube by just searching for the Rough Drafts Podcast. Thanks for listening, and goodbye, Internet.